let me first say that it underlines the close relationship between Norway and Poland, NATO allies, partners, and combined in so many ways by the people-to-people dimension, and also now both of us engaged and concerned about the situation in Europe due to the unprovoked attack on Ukraine by Russia. So we've had the opportunity tonight to compare notes on this dramatic situation, underlining our joint determination to support the people of Ukraine in resisting this unprovoked aggression. Both Norway and Poland intends to stay on supporting the brave fight of the Ukrainian people. And when the day comes, when Ukraine again is free, we will be ready to support reconstruction and way forward for that proud country. I have also saluted the Prime Minister for what Poland is doing right now, as hundreds of thousands and beyond 1 million refugees are crossing from the border into Poland. We are moved and impressed by the way the people of Poland are receiving people coming from Ukraine in very dire situation, and also the way the government and the local authorities in these areas in Poland have been receiving and improvising to receive such large numbers of refugees. I personally have visited today a group of Ukrainian women who have taken refuge in Norway, south of Norway, down in Porsgrunn, city of Porsgrunn. So we are also affected, and Norway will be ready to take its part of solidarity with people who are fleeing from the war. We have also discussed close cooperation between Norway and Poland on energy. Finally, after many years, the Baltic pipe will stand ready by the end of the year, which will enable Norwegian gas to reach Poland through a pipeline going via Denmark to Poland. And by the end of the year, that can significantly contribute to provisions for the Polish energy consumption. I appreciate you coming, Prime Minister. I appreciate our cooperation, and I'm very happy to see you. And I look forward to next time you can come on a bilateral visit where we can spend more time. But please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for receiving me here. We were able to exchange our opinions on what is going on beyond our eastern border. And as everybody knows, for almost 2 weeks now, the Ukrainians put up the resistance to the Russian army, and this is a heroic resistance. And no matter where we live in Europe, we should be aware that they are defending not only their own independence, security, and sovereignty, but they are defending the whole of Europe, because Putin will never stop. He will always try to expand his empire. And I know Norway has a border with Russia, Finland, and then the Baltic states, and Poland, and many other countries. And this is why, on the eastern flank of NATO, I believe that we have to be strong and united. And I'm going to thank Prime Minister for this very close cooperation. We are making some military exercise quite soon, the whole of NATO. But also we spoke about strengthening the NATO eastern flank, because we want to be as united, as strong as it needs be, and the current times are pretty challenging because of what is happening beyond our border. Our cooperation with Norway is based on 2 pillars, you may say. One is the security related, this is what I just described, and the other is based on energy. And Prime Minister said about this as well. Our government has restarted the project of the Baltic pipe just 5 years ago. And we were able over the past 5 years to deliver it almost to the end. Towards the end of this year, October, November, the Baltic pipe is going to be ready. And then we will have 10 billion cubic meters of Norwegian gas. And today we know very, very well that we have to be independent of Russian oil and gas. And this is why I urge the European Commission and our colleagues from Western Europe to work a roadmap towards this desired end. Independence of Russian oil, Russian coal, Russian gas. Gas is, of course, the most difficult, and here the role of Norway, our friend and country which is so rich in natural resources, is particularly important. So this is why this visit here was so fruitful and so positive. Then a couple of words on refugees. Thank you for your kind remarks, Prime Minister, and also for your promise to participate somehow in this the biggest post-Second World War refugee crisis in Europe, in this part of Europe. And we received those signals from all over Europe that the European Commission, the United Nations, but also the countries which are outside of the European Union, like the United Kingdom and Norway, are going to participate in softening the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, because this is what is happening there. And we both were hopeful for peaceful solution for the Russian army to go back. But we also are, as realistic as we should be, and this is why we have to prepare for longer period of time when probably this refugee crisis will last. And this is why our cooperation here on that field is so important. So thank you very much, Prime Minister, for your readiness to help us and to participate in this what is happening, but in particular for strengthening our security and building a new foundation for a secure Europe, both from the point of view of defense, but also in the area of energy. Thank you.
Then we open for some questions, and we start with Polsat, and after that NRK.
Piotr Witkowski, Polsat. Question to Polish Prime Minister. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace earlier said that he would support Poland in supplying jets to assist Ukraine if Poland chooses to do so. Was it discussed with Prime Minister Boris Johnson today? And also, Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued statement tonight saying that Poland is ready to immediate and free of charge relocation for its entire fleet of MiG-29 jets to Ramstein Air Base and hand them over to disposition of United States, and is calling to other countries that have MiG-29 jets to do the similar move. Also, I would like to ask about sanctions, because European Commission proposed a new set of measures, but those are far from what Poland wanted. So there's no talks about cutting all Russian banks from SWIFT, also no embargo on Russian oil.
Well, to the first point, we were always emphasizing that Poland is not party to this war, and NATO is not party to this war. This is why any decisions of delivering offensive weapon has to be taken by the entire NATO on a unanimous basis. And this is why we are ready to give all of our fleet of jet fighters to Ramstein, but we are not ready to make any moves on our own because, as I said, we are not party to this war. Your second question, we would like to have, and we would like to see as strong and tough and crushing sanctions as possible. And if you compare the current package of sanctions to what was proposed just 10 days ago, you will see that this package is real. It's about freezing assets of oligarchs. It's about SWIFT. It's about ban on embargo on technology transfers, and it is about many other aspects. And we press our friends from the European Commission and from the European Union for this package to be complete, to be tight, and to be crushing. And day after day, new elements are being added to the package. And of course, we are not satisfied that, for instance, in the context of SWIFT system, some critically important banks, from the Russian point of view, are still off the list. They are not on the list of the banks which are cut off the SWIFT system. What is even more important is effective freezing of assets. And we spoke about this with Prime Minister here in Oslo, but we spoke about this also with Boris Johnson in London. And, Russian companies, Russian oligarchs, big and small, business or politics, all have to know that they are cut off the Western markets and Western technologies. And they cannot be part of this war machinery of Putin. We have to make it very clear through the sanctions. And this is, I hope, in Paris, in 2 days' time, we will make it very, very loud and clear.
NRK. After that, it's IR.
Yes, a question concerning the refugee situation across the border area to Ukraine and Poland. Since the war broke out, several Norwegians has privately arranged buses to pick up Ukrainian refugees in the border areas and bringing them to Norway. In your opinion, is this a good idea?
This is a good idea because this is our joint responsibility to deal with this biggest humanitarian crisis. And Prime Minister was explaining to me how Norway is going to approach this whole humanitarian catastrophe in Ukraine. And I'm grateful also to all those private citizens and corporations, companies, which and who do participate in softening the crisis. And also, thank you, Prime Minister, for your words on Norway participating in some of our charity type of activities through Caritas or through Red Cross, because these are the biggest NGOs, Caritas in particular, which are involved in the refugee crisis. And also, as you said, first and foremost, the central government and local governments are deeply involved in this crisis. Can you imagine over a very short period of time, 6 or 7 days, approximately 1.5 million people crossed our border, eastern border, but also 200,000 to 300,000 might have come through our southern border from Hungary, from Romania, as I was informed today by the other prime ministers.
Good evening, Karol Zdrowko, Polish Radio. I have a question considering the Baltic pipeline. How soon is it possible for the pipeline to be partially operational? Prime Minister, you mentioned October. Is it maybe possible to push the launch date even sooner, considering the severity of the situation? Will the pipeline be enough for Poland to effectively function without Russian fuel? And to what extent can Norway increase its export to Central Europe? Thank you.
Well, the capacity of the pipeline is 10 billion cubic meter. Our domestic consumption is 20 billion cubic meter. Our domestic production is 4.5, and we have a terminal which is already able to accept 5.5 billion cubic meters. So we are nearly there. If the pipeline might be open sooner, I don't think so. I think October, November is the earliest deadline. But I'm not expert on this. But this is what experts told me.
I think that's the right assessment. I reminded the Prime Minister that 20 years ago there was discussion of building a dedicated pipeline from Norway directly to Poland. That didn't happen, but now there is a pipeline that will reach Poland through Denmark, so Norwegian gas can end up in Poland. I can simply say it very shortly. Norway is delivering at the maximum of its capacity. So the government is in touch with the companies operating our production and our export in the pipelines, and they are delivering gas at the maximum of their capacity today. So that is about 20% of European Union's gas, and we cannot make a decision from one day to the other to turn that up because it is at the maximum with the existing fields.
Last questions go to NTB.
Tack. So my question goes to Støre. Have you agreed on how Norway can help Poland with the refugee situation? Is there a need for more money, equipment, or a way for Norway to transfer refugees out of Poland?
Well, on the first question, supporting with financial support, the answer is yes. And I received, as you know, the High Commissioner for Refugees a few hours ago, and Norway is then allocating 250 million crowns, should be about 25 million euros, directly to UNHCR activities, which will be in this area. In addition, we will be supporting a humanitarian organization with a proven record, like Caritas, like Red Cross, operating in these areas. Then we have not made, as Norway, a final decision on mechanisms for receiving people from the Polish side of the border. But we are discussing with our European partners and with Poland on how we can deal with this as it now works on. It should be not bureaucratic, but it should be controlled. I think that is good for the refugees who live in a very vulnerable situation. And we want people who come to Norway to be registered, so we know who they are and we know how we can follow them up with the rights they will have when they come to Norwegian municipalities. But this, I think, will be discussed. The people I met today and the people who have come here, independently. And there may be need to look more into organized transport as this drags on.
That ends this press conference. Thank you for coming and safe flight.
Thank you.